My name's Zach Rosicek. Just finished my education degree, secondary ed, major in social studies, minor in phys ed. After I finished my IPT, I heard about this through the undergrad email kind of list. And I really wanted something over the summer that was going to really kind of fit in with my degree and help kind of lead me into the APT, so a teaching related experience. And I really like this one because it's not credit, so you can just kind of focus on teaching and you're not worried about someone grading you or whether you're getting credit for this. And it's really a great lead in to your APT. Alright, so yeah, obviously there's that anxiety and that nervousness when you're coming to not only a new country, but this is your new home for 2 or 3 months, and these are the people that you're going to be living and working with. So obviously it's nice to actually make that contact and then to realize that this person is there to support you and it's actually going to be all right after all. So yeah, the welcome was more than I expected. The principal was there to meet us as soon as we got to the school. We ended up in our apartments, and then actually that evening the entire staff took us out for dinner. So I really think that they helped build that kind of community feeling there, and they're very, very accepting of kind of these outsiders, and they really worked hard to make you feel welcome. And that definitely alleviated a lot of the anxieties you have coming to a new country. At first, I was, I guess you'd say, a bit of a teaching assistant, kind of just helping out individual students, groups of students. But then eventually, as it kind of went on, I eventually started to take over more from the teacher I was working with. And then I'd say by the end of the first month, I was completely in charge of the class for planning, teaching, and assessing. So it was nice to kind of be eased into that and not just kind of dropped in and say, well, now you're teaching this class. Especially not having any ESL experience going in, so to build up kind of that comfort level, and then once we kind of saw that I'd be comfortable teaching this class, I took on full time. So Beijing Concord College, it's kind of in a suburb of Beijing, and it's more of a private school than an international school. There are some international students. There were students from Korea and Japan, but the majority of the students are from China. And the one thing that really interested me was the different English levels were so varying, and that kind of provided a bit of a challenge because you might be teaching one class that is almost fluent in English and then you have a very lower level, but I think that's when you're able to actually work on your teaching and improve as a teacher when you're working with that differing levels of English. Yeah, so they were always very excited to hear that they're getting a new teacher. They'd obviously had Western teachers before because the majority of the English teachers there are from Canada, but there's just that excitement that they're getting someone else now that they can kind of share their stories with and hear my stories. And they're always very, very interested to learn about you. And the thing I kind of like about that in an English class is just by talking with them about yourself is you're actually working on their English speaking skills. So they're very curious. They love to know all about Canada. They love to know all about where you're from, what your school's like. And they're very, very interested in the amount of snow that we get here. So I had kind of a PowerPoint on snow, and they found it was the most fascinating thing ever. Well, some good surprises while I was there. Just the openness of the students to kind of accepting you as their kind of new teacher. Sometimes you're going into this new group of people, they can be very kind of tepid, very kind of wary, but I found they're very open. And that was great because then I could bring myself into the classroom, and as a teacher, you're not, you have to be open to being yourself. Great. There was four of us, four interns from the U of A, and the school was really supportive of us traveling. So they hooked us up with a travel agent actually who organized all the stuff for the school. So we managed to go to Xi'an in western China to see the Terracotta Warriors, which was really, really cool on a long weekend. We went to Shanghai for a weekend. We took the bullet train, which was amazing, going 400 kilometers an hour. You look outside and you're like, no, I can't actually be going that fast. That's not possible. And yeah, a lot of traveling just within Beijing. We'd go and we'd stay a weekend in the city, just at a hostel or a hotel. Yeah, it was amazing. I was really appreciative of the opportunity to work with ESL students because obviously in Canada today, this is the big thing now, is we're getting more and more students in our school system, and English isn't their primary language. And even when you're teaching something like social studies or science, you often take for granted that you need to often break down these words and make sure you're aware that not everyone is getting the same meaning out of them because of their linguistic background, their cultural background. And just to have that exposure to this in China, where you're working completely with ESL students, you pick up so many strategies, so many experiences that now, during my APT, I'd say about 50% of my students were ESL, and it really helped being able to connect with them on that level. Obviously, you're going to be a little bit nervous coming into any new situation, especially when it's something like China, where there may be a lot of preconceptions and a lot of notions. But you really have to go and you have to experience it for yourself. And it's very hard to describe exactly what it's like. It's very different for every person. But if you can just overcome that initial kind of anxiety or nervousness about putting yourself in a new situation, especially where you're teaching, so you're kind of opening yourself up, it's amazing, and it's something that's going to stay with me, I think, for the rest of my career and the rest of my life, and that I'm always going to be reflecting on and referring back to moving forward. So if you're a little bit shy or nervous about it, just go for it, and I guarantee you won't regret it.